Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how to make a bunch of home decor items and gifts that you can give this holiday season. Now, a lot of these projects that I'm showing you here follow the same techniques, but I wanted to show you a few examples before we got started. Now, this video is sponsored by Punch Place Plus. They have these amazing acrylic shapes that you can turn into ornaments, jewelry, coasters, and so much more. And I'll have a link to all the products that I used in today's tutorial in the video description. And also, I'm going to link up to some other jewelry making supplies they have. No tool required jewelry making supplies that I'll be using in an upcoming video in case you want to follow along when that one comes around. I'm going to show you how to make these wine glass charms. They're super easy and they will keep your drinks from getting mixed up at your next party, as well as some really fun coasters. Let's get right to it. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to go over some tips as we learn here. And one of the tips is when you're working with these acrylic pieces, if you're going to use wet glue to adhere everything, like I'm going to do on the wine glass charms, and you're going to use some stamping, it's important that you use archival ink, or if you're going to use something printed, that it's printed off of a laser printer or color photocopy and not an inkjet printer. But if you want to use an inkjet printer, I'm going to tell you how you can do that in a little bit, because I know that sometimes you just want to print off the perfect thing. I totally get that. So for a wine glass charms, what you're going to need is a wine glass charm blank, and I have taken the brown paper off one side and I've left it on the other side. And you're going to need a couple punched circles. Now these are inch and a quarter. I believe. Let me just hold it up on my grid here. Yeah, inch and a quarter. And then I punched a inch circle and a 3/4 inch circle. Now on the 3/4 inch circle, I'm actually going to use the back side and I'm going to stamp number 6 because I've already done 1 through 5. And I'm going to let that dry because even though it is a waterproof ink, it still needs to dry or it'll smear. Now while I'm waiting for that to dry, I want to stamp something for a keychain that I want to make a little bit later in the video. So I thought it'd be fun when we, you have a house guest and you want to give them a key so they feel like they can come and go as they please. It'd be cool to make one kind of like the old-fashioned hotel keys. So I'm using their key ring blank, and there you can see with a paper on both sides. And I'm going to stamp "Be Our Guest" here on this little panel. And I have a lot of different alphabet stamps to choose from. I think I'm going to go with the same font that matches that. There, now I'm going to let that dry before we move on with our project. Okay, number 6 is dry, and I'm going to put my ink pad away so I don't set my hand in it. And we're going to build this little keychain. So the reason I have 2 of these big ones is because you'll want something on the back so that your little tag isn't just white on the back, or you could write a little special note on there if you want to, but I kind of like to have things look finished. And we are going to use glue for this one because I want to show you the different options. I like to use Mod Podge. You can use Elmer's glue, whatever glue you like. And I like to use a like a nylon paintbrush. Now, if you have it wet, and I know this is totally professional, if you've just washed your brush, you've had it in water, make sure you dry it off before you go for your glue. That way you don't thin it down too much. Now, what I'm going to do here is actually build the front of my wine glass charm. Thin applications of glue. You do not need a lot when you're working with the acrylics, because it's going to take quite a while to dry, just because it kind of traps the air in there. It's not like you're gluing paper to wood. It's not like you're decoupaging as much as just adhering. All right, so now I've got that kind of stacked up there. That's my little layers. And the wine glass charm, you will have to remove that backing. I've already done that. Now it's very important you don't go too crazy with the glue here, because it's going to take a long time to dry if you put too much. You just want a thin coat, and this will go anytime you are working with these charms. And what I want to do is kind of line it up so the 6, or the top of the number, is aligned with the hole. And it's not absolutely paramount that you do that, but I think it just adds to the professional look of it. And then what I like to do, and you have to be a little careful with this, is I just like to scrape, make sure it's bonded really well. And then I'm going to go ahead and put another thin coat of Mod Podge, or whatever glue you prefer, water-based glue, and stick this down like that. So it's important that you're not using inkjet prints at this point, because if you do, your ink could smudge. So this is great for the beautiful scrapbook pages that we hoard. Now I'm going to show you the papers that I'm using. I got these last year at Joann's. They're just a really pretty holiday collection, and I don't know if they're still available, but find something you really like, because you could do a set of coasters and wine glass charms with one sheet. And while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm just gonna leave that there and not remove the top while it's drying, where I'm gonna show you how to do the coaster. Now it's very similar. It comes like this, and you also get these little bumpers for the bottom. And I'm not going to worry about the bottom being like patterned like I did with the wine glass charms, because you're not going to see both parts of it when it's in use. So what I'm going to do here is I like to use like the edge of an X-Acto knife or a paper piercer or something to remove my paper. Now I'm not going to show you me doing that in every project, but this stuff is really clung on tight. It really protects the surface in travel, and while you're working on it, leave the other side on because you don't want to scratch it or get it all gluey or smudged up. Now what I've done already is I have cut this paper to size, and I use my corner rounder to round the edges. If you don't have a corner rounder, don't worry about it. You can trim it with scissors afterwards, after you've got it glued down there. Then again, not a terrible amount of glue, just a thin coating. I'm gonna go ahead and spread that here on this tile. Okay, now you can use photographs. I'm going to show you another non-glue method in a minute. So if you are using photographs, you may choose the non-glue method. Now what I'm going to do is just center it up. Now don't worry if it's a little bigger than what you have here, because I'll show you how to trim it. You like to keep old credit cards for kind of scraping and burnishing. You're going to see the wet glue after I peel off the backing, and that's not a big deal because it will dry clear, and I'll show you one that's been drying for a little while after. Now as you can see, this paper was a little bit bigger. My cutter is not perfect, and sometimes it cuts a little off, and I blame my cutter because absolutely I'm perfect. It's not my cutter's, it's definitely my cutter's fault. All you have to do is use a sharpened X-Acto knife and just go along the edges, and you can just cut off any overhang. And actually that's how I trim down this really fancy shape here. I just used my X-Acto knife, and I just trimmed around it. Just make sure if you're doing something fine like this, you move it as you're going, so you don't end up getting yourself in an awkward position with an X-Acto knife, because that's how accidents happen. Now I'm going to flip it over. Since it's not really important that I finish this bottom because it's not going to be seen, I'm just going to stick my bumpers on there. If you want to make it a little more durable, you could give it some seal, like a coat of sealer, and I mean like kind of like an outdoor or acrylic varnish, not a Mod Podge. Mod Podge isn't really a sealer, it's more of a glue. And then I'm simply going to, either my craft knife or my paper piercer, just get a little edge up. You could use your fingernails, but it is kind of rough on your fingernails, so. Alright, and that is our finished coaster. Now you'll see some of it will be a little milky, like around the corners and stuff. It will dry clear. And this one's been drying for a little while. You can see they're definitely a lot clearer as they dry. I just think they're so elegant and useful, because nobody wants to have their furniture ruined when they have a party. So put those out on the table, and no furniture gets harmed, and they also make a really wonderful gift. Alright, so back to our wine glass charms. I've got a really fun tip for you. I love to embellish. I love using rhinestones, and I don't like to buy different colors because a lot of times you end up with all these extras that you'll never use. So what I do is I take I buy the clear rhinestones, and then I just like stick them down in a little glue dot. This is just a little strip from my glue dots. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. And then I use my alcohol markers. Oh, that one popped up. That's not a big deal though. Let's stick it right back down there. Then I'll use my alcohol markers to color them. So I think on that charm, I'm gonna want a green sparkle. So what I'm gonna do is just simply use my marker to color it. And I do it here so that way if I go out of the lines, I'm only getting marker on my release paper. It's not gonna go on anything else. And then I just keep my marker handy because sometimes I need to touch it up after it's on the ornament. So now what I'm going to do is remove the backing paper from this. Okay, the sticky back is removed. I'm just going to peel off my colored rhinestone. Now you may notice that after you push it down with your finger that you get like a little fingerprint, or it's not so shiny. Then you just go touch it up with your marker again. I do find the brush tip markers are a little bit easier to use because they don't lift up the ink back again. It deposits more ink, but you can use any kind of alcohol marker that you have. Now I am going to just open up this little finding. This is just your wine glass charm piece, and put it through the hole. Oops, you know what? I forgot to poke the hole. You'll need to poke the hole on these, so you go through that paper layer. And what I usually do is kind of poke it from the front just so I know where it is. And then I can go in the back and kind of see where I made that hole and poke right back down through. Just like so. And then I just kind of wiggle it around in there, let it open up a little bit, just wiggle that tool around. And then we're just going to put our finding through that hole. and then close it up until you're ready to use it. And that will just go around the stem on your wine glass so nobody gets their drinks mixed up. They're so cute and so easy to make, and they make a wonderful gift. Now the technique that I'm going to use next is, and the final technique is showing you how to do a no glue method. And this is really handy if you're just making one of something and you just want it done quick. I think the glue is a little bit better if you're doing a batch thing like a bunch of coasters, but if you're just going to do one thing, this tape method is much easier. Now I'm using a double-sided tape, but actually Punch Place Plus has a more affordable adhesive for you, and it comes in big sheets, so you're not limited to the width of your tape. What I'm going to do here is again remove the backing paper and set it on my double-sided tape. Now the sheets that Punch Place Plus has are big 10 by 12, I believe, 5 packs of 10-inch by 12-inch sheets for $5. It's a great value, and so you don't have to be so exact. This is exactly the same width of my tape, so I had to be a little careful there. And then I'm just going to trim around it there on that side. Now what I want to do is I want to put that right on there like that. So what I'm going to do is burnish the back of this with my credit card here, or any like bone folder or anything like that. I want to make sure that adhesive is down really well, and I'm going to peel off the backing paper. Then I simply want to put this on, but I want to make sure the hole is at the top of where my Be Our Guest is. So I'm just going to kind of, you know what, I think I'm going to set it down on top just to make sure that I'm covering the whole sentiment there. Okay, I'm going to flip it again, and that's why we keep that cover on there, so that we don't end up scratching our piece all the heck. We don't want that to happen. And then I'm actually going to poke this through right now before I get any further and open up the hole. And since this is such a simple shape, I'm going to go ahead and use my X-Acto knife. Now, you probably want to decorate the back, or maybe, I don't think I'd put my address on it just because you don't want this to get lost and have somebody have the address to your house, but, you know, you could always put like a lovely message on the back or something. You know, decorate it however you want. I probably wouldn't leave it plain because, you know, you would see both sides of it as a key ring. And then remove your front paper and add on the ball chain that comes with the kit. And you could also put on I think if I was going to use a split ring, I still would use a ball chain first, otherwise it might be kind of difficult to get that in. I think it'd be tough to get a split ring onto this. This will just make it, and it also kind of gives it that kind of kitschy hotel key quality, which I think is kind of fun. And I don't think anyone would lose the key either, which is the other bonus. You hate to have an extra key lost. And there you have that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and do check out our sponsor, Punch Place Plus. They're offering free shipping on orders of $49 and more. The link and coupon are in the video description. Make sure you check that out. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Until next time, happy crafting.